This is Professor DePaulo coming back for another module for Psych 265 online. And today we're going to be talking about writing the introduction of an APA manuscript. So the entire APA manuscript in psychology consists of the title page, the abstract, the introduction, the method, the results, the discussion, and the references. And so there's multiple parts of the manuscript, and one of the most important parts of the manuscript to really capture the reader's attention and provide the necessary background to define the problem is the introduction section. It's also one of the most difficult sections of the paper to write, and you're going to be practicing writing it for this particular class, but I don't expect you to really fully master the skill. I mean, it's going to take a while. I would say that even when I write my papers, the introduction section is a difficult section to write to make sure I tie things together. And that's why I rely on the feedback of the peer reviewers, the people reviewing your research that's submitted for publication. They will give you feedback. Most of it's useful. I mean, they might be very critical, but a lot of their feedback is useful for improving the manuscript. And many times when I submit, I will get feedback on the discussion asking me to elaborate on certain things or to answer certain questions that I may have glossed over or missed when I originally wrote the manuscript. So you're going to be writing a rough draft, and I'll be giving you suggestions, and then you'll be improving or sort of editing, incorporating my suggestions. I'm not expecting a masterpiece, but I am expecting something that shows me that you put in the time and effort to really take a legitimate shot at writing a good introduction. And I can easily identify when you spend time on this section of the paper, or you wrote it, the day before or the hour before it was due, and you kind of crammed it all in. This section of the paper is going to take a couple weeks to write because you're going to have to do the literature review first, gather all your articles, read through them, parse through all those articles, and then incorporate them into your introduction section. So I'm going to talk about the format, which I've attached in Blackboard for you to go through. It's entitled Writing the Introduction of the APA Manuscript. I am expecting about 3 pages in length, double spaced, obviously, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, your normal deal. And I broke it up for paragraph by paragraph for you because I think this makes it easier to write. Obviously, if you're a professional researcher or you're doing your dissertation, you may do it slightly different. You may, instead of summarizing each study, you may kind of develop themes throughout the middle of the introduction and then try to tie in all the studies into each particular theme. So each paragraph would be a theme, and then you would sort of try to paraphrase from relevant research studies in each paragraph based on that theme for that paragraph or that 2 paragraphs or whatever, how long you're going to incorporate the theme throughout the research. In this paper, it's going to be simplified in that I'm going to be asking you just to do a summary of the different articles that you reviewed as part of your introduction. It's not the best way to write an introduction, but I think it's a good way to learn how to write it at the beginning and to really learn how to do a good review of the literature. So let's start. Paragraphs 1 and 2 is defining the problem. So I want you to introduce the topic that you are studying and describe why it's important to conduct research on this topic. Especially if there are real world applications for the topic studied, I want you to discuss them. So, why are we doing, uh, what kind of research are we doing, and why is it important? Now, our particular class study is going to be based on some cognitive psych work that involves mental rotation. And mental rotation isn't the most exciting subject matter to do a research study on, but it's important and it's a pretty easy study that we can do online together. So I can collect your data, I can have you answer some questions and put that data into a spreadsheet, into a Google Sheets spreadsheet, which I can then analyze and come up with some conclusions. So it's a pretty basic paradigm to run when we're working online. It's much easier to do research that's not fully online, especially kind of these kind of studies. So I picked this topic because I think it's important. It's a cognitive topic, cognitive psych topic, and I think it's something we can easily gather data for. But obviously, later on in your career, you may do your own research, and you should identify a particular topic. And I referred to it in the past lectures as me search. I'm sure you all have wonderful ideas that you would want to do for research, but to get approval to do these studies and to not even meet you in person and to have to do these individual studies in an online environment would be kind of impossible. And so I picked a very safe topic and something that I hope is somewhat interesting to research, but it may not be exactly what you want to do. You have plenty of times in your career to move forward and do exactly what you want to do later on as you progress through your education. So paragraphs 1 and 2, as I said, defining the problem, why is important. So why is the mental rotation ability important? What role does it play? Well, it plays a lot of roles, and one of the reason why I picked studying mental rotation ability is because personally, I am terrible at this. I am like the kind of person that I can't find anything. When I'm driving, I get lost all the time. I have a GPS, but even with the GPS, I get lost. I'm just like completely lost when it comes to, north, south, east, west. I have no clue. If I'm walking through the city and I need to go east and I think I'm going east and I realize I'm going west, and then I turn around and I'm like, why can't I figure out, north, south, east, west? I have no clue sort of where the position of objects in my environment are. And if you spin me around and I face a different direction, I won't know because I'm used to going a particular way. And if I change slightly, I get lost right away. And so I'm really poor at these mental rotation skill set, and in general, and it really hinders things. Like driving, it's a problem. I'm always lost, as I said, and I couldn't be an engineer or anything like that because I just don't have this ability, or an architect, or probably not even an interior designer, because I have no spatial presence. And this is strange because I have very good math ability and I can do algebra, calculus, linear algebra, all this stuff fairly easily. And it makes perfect sense to me. But then, trying to find something on a map or trying to navigate streets to go somewhere is like impossible. So, in a sense, I'm kind of doing some research on why I can't navigate environments like this. And so it's important. I mean, there is important if you're in the military, if you're flying, if you're if you want to be an engineer or some architect or someone that designs that needs to have a good spatial reasoning ability. Um, you know, you need to be able to parse your environment in this way. So it's important to know these things. And I'm looking at this in the study with you guys and to try to figure out, is there a relationship here? A very basic relationship, but, we're going to test some really, rudimentary hypotheses. But we may come up with some interesting results. So that's what we're doing this semester. And so once you define the problem, why is spatial reasoning important? And find some research to back this up. And there's plenty of research on it. And you can do what I showed you in the previous lecture about using Google Scholar and PsycInfo. We now need to do the literature review. We need to go into those search engines and pick out at least five scholarly sources related to the idea of uh, spatial rotation and the other variables that I asked you to look at, that I'm going to be asking you in the future to look at, I should say. So I'm really looking at mental rotation ability. Is there a difference by gender? Is there a difference by experience, such as playing video games? So there's some research out there that playing video games helps you develop spatial reasoning. And there's probably other things you could do to develop spatial reasoning. And so, is there gender effects? Is there experience effects? There's plenty of articles on this. Go out, search them up, find at least five articles and or books. I suggest articles. They're much easier to find. You're probably not going to want to read through a book. You probably won't have enough time to do this. So find five peer-reviewed scholarly articles either through Google Scholar, PsycInfo, PsycArticles, the databases I showed you through the library. Find that research on mental rotation and gender, mental rotation in video games, mental rotation in whatever else that we're looking at. Uh, why mental rotation tasks important? Could it be involved in driving, careers, navigating, etc.? Just skim through read the abstracts first of the articles you're looking at, and then you can, skim through the article to see if it's relevant. And if it's relevant, then do a, full read through the article, take notes on the article, and then paraphrase the relevant research. So if you find something that's relevant, you can either summarize it into your introduction. And the way I want this set up is that each paragraph should represent a different study. So paragraph 1 and 2 are the introduction. Why is it important? And then paragraph 3 is the first research article you found. Tell me about what they did and what they found. Paragraph 4 is the second research article. Tell me what they found, what they did in that article. Paragraph 5, the third research article. Same thing. Paragraph 6, the fourth research article. Paragraph 7, the fifth research article. So you need five sources. You don't really need more than five. If you want to add more than five, you can add another paragraph or so. It's not a big deal. But you want those five sources, and you want one paragraph for each of those research articles. Now, as I said before at the beginning, this isn't the ideal, perfect way to write an introduction. Say you were a faculty member and you were writing a grant or something, a very high level activity. This kind of approach may get some pushback from the peer review, but when you're learning, as in your case, you're just starting out, this is perfectly acceptable to write the introduction this way because you're still learning the process. You got a long way to go if you want to be a researcher. If you don't want to be a researcher, then it's not that important. Although it will help you write papers in general, research or term papers throughout your career, whether it be at the four-year college and especially in graduate school. So once you're done with those five scholarly articles, the last paragraph, paragraph 8, should state the purpose of the current study and provide the hypotheses of the study. So here are the hypotheses that I'm using and you're going to be using for the study. And I kind of just made these up based on what the previous literature sort of indicated. Here are the hypotheses we're going to test as a class. Males will perform better on a mental rotation test than females. Participants who play video games will score better on mental rotation tests than those who do not play video games. And finally, hours sleeping will positively correlate with performance on a mental rotation task. So all this information is going to be either on the test they're going to have you do, the mental rotation test, or in the Google spreadsheet they're going to have you answer. And I'll show you a walkthrough of that when we're ready to collect the data. You'll see the walkthrough of how to enter the data into Google Sheets and how to do the task. And then I'm going to analyze the data and I'll draw conclusions, statistical conclusions that I will provide for you, and that will be your results section. And then you're going to interpret those statistics when you write your discussion section. And sort of how do the results, do they support the hypotheses we have, or are they different? And I'll be talking more about that down the line when we get prepared to write the discussion section. So for this final paragraph, you want the purpose of the study, and then you want to actually list these hypotheses. So it's very easy. I've given you the hypotheses. You're just going to basically list them. Because you should always end the introduction with your hypotheses. And that sets the stage for the methodology to come, and then obviously running the study, getting the results, and then analyzing and discussing the results. So that's basically how I want you to write your introduction section, and it should be 3 pages in length, double space, 1 inch margins, 12-point font. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect. I want to see effort. I want to see that you took the task seriously and that you followed the directions, especially following the directions. I'm a really big proponent of, if I'm providing you all this direction, spending a lot of time, recording videos and giving you handouts and trying to make your life easier, I want you to really pay attention and follow the advice I'm giving you, the instructions I'm giving you. If you don't follow the instructions, I'm not too happy about this. And it's going to result in a non-ideal grade for you down the line. So please take the time, gather the research, read the articles, and then put together 3 pages of this. It's not a very difficult task, but it's not something you want to wait until the last minute to do. Now I'm going to show you what a manuscript looks like, and I've taken a paper from the Purdue Writing Lab website. And the Purdue Writing Lab website is a website I use very frequently, and it has all kinds of information on style, grammar, APA style, writing a manuscript. It's very useful. Purdue Writing Lab, or it's the OWL. It's a very useful website. You can look it up. So I've taken this paper from the Purdue Writing Lab because it's fairly basically written and it's annotated, and it kind of tells you what goes into the paper. And I can actually post this for you. So basically, this is the title page. We're going to do this last because it kind of is. It's important, but it's not that important in terms of writing up the study right now. So this is more a formatting issue, and we'll get to this later on. Here's your abstract, which is the short summary that we're going to write this last. This is always written last, the abstract, because it's a summary of the entire paper, basically. And it's challenging to write at times. And here's our introduction. So in the introduction, we start with the actual title of the study. So you don't write the word introduction. You write actually the title of the study out. Now we don't have a title. We're going to come up with the title on the end. So you don't have to really write anything here. You can just start the introduction. And when the revised manuscript is, when you edit the rough draft that you submit at the end of the semester, and you're ready to submit the revised manuscript to me, you're going to put the title of the study as the beginning of the introduction. You don't write the word introduction, you always put the title at the top. So here's the first paragraph, and they're really looking at interesting research involving bilingualism here, and the idea that, is bilingualism hurtful or helpful to a child? And this has been debated for a long time. Children that grow up in bilingual households, sometimes they're a little slower learning English at the beginning, and then they catch up. And then a lot of times bilingualism is helpful in the long run. And it's really great to learn a language early in life because learning a language later in life is much more difficult. So if you can do it early in life, you're going to learn it quickly, you're going to retain it, you're going to become probably fluent in it if you use it a lot, especially if you use it at home, and you won't have an accent. So it's really beneficial to learn really early in life, as early as you can, but definitely before the age of 10, because that it facilitates learning and it reduces the accent that you have. So the idea of making errors in bilingualism is called code switching. And so this first paragraph introduces the topic and it talks about the problems with code switching. So why is bilingualism important, and is it an obstacle to a child's development? So they talk about bilingualism become a subject of great debate, and evidence suggests that the benefits of raising a child may outnumber the costs. So this is, what am I studying? I'm studying bilingualism. And why is it important? Well, it's important because there's been a debate over the importance of bilingualism, or the benefits versus the costs. And you're basically saying right here that I believe bilingualism is important for a child, and the benefits are much greater than the costs. So, what the topic is, bilingualism, the debate over bilingualism and the problems associated with it, and the stating that the costs outnumber the benefits. So, right away, I kind of know what the paper is about from the first paragraph. And that's kind of what I want you to do in the first one or two paragraphs is what is the problem? It's about mental rotation, and what are the benefits of being very good at these mental rotation tasks? Why is it important? And I can tell you it's important because I'm always lost, and I'm kind of tired of being lost. And people make fun of me. It's just when I'm driving, I'm just like, which way do I go? And I'm kind of tied to the GPS, and if GPS makes a mistake, I'll end up somewhere way out of the way. So that's one thing. I mean, other things could be, it's important for certain careers. It's an important skill that I'm kind of lacking personally. Now, the second paragraph, kind of in this instance, doesn't talk about a particular study or summarize it like I want you to do, but it kind of breaks it down in terms of it introduces the idea of code switching, which is going back and forth between native language, first language, and second language. So usually English and whatever the native language is, and how you make mistakes, how you kind of get words mixed in, especially when you're young and you're learning two languages as a child at once. And so this whole paragraph talks about code switching. So you go to find an article that talks about code switching and summarize it as your paragraph two. But obviously, your paragraph two is not about code switching. It's going to be about mental rotation, benefits, and factors that lead to differences in performance in terms of mental rotation. But that would be your second paragraph. So in your introduction, each paragraph represents a different article that you're using that's related to what we're studying, which is once again mental rotation ability, gender, uh, activities like video games that may influence mental rotation ability, certain other factors. So anything that's related to mental rotation or altering the ability to do these mental rotation tasks, that's something you can bring up in your paper. So you need to do the literature review for that. I looked at sleep, I looked at gender, things like this. These are all part of our hypotheses, right? Sleep, gender, and activities like video games. So then in their next paragraph, they're talking more about uh, coding for bilinguals. So they're kind of spending a lot of time introducing this idea and really talking about how it's beneficial. So it preserves grammar of both languages and can in fact enhance mutual comprehension between bilinguals. So they're saying, look, even though when you're young and you're learning two languages at the same time, you may screw up. In the long run, it's actually a good thing. It's going to help you. It's going to enhance mutual comprehension. So then they're talking a little bit more about code switching, and then they're finally ending up here with the reason why they're doing the study. And as you can see here at the end of their last paragraph, you have the hypothesis. And here's the hypothesis. It was hypothesized that an analysis of the child's speech would reveal an overapplication of Polish grammar rules in his English, suggesting that he was still in the early stages of bilingualism. So, they're talking about you know struggles in mixing up of grammar between Polish English bilinguals, and in your study, I already gave you the hypotheses, so you just kind of put those in. But you have to have hypotheses towards the end of your introduction, just like this person has introduced it at the end of their introduction. And that's it for their introduction. So their introduction is really short. It's a sample paper. It's not, a professional manuscript. It's not a journal article. It's a sample paper, and so I expect something similar to this, but I expect it to be 3 pages in the format that I'm using. And I expect you also to cite, as this article has cited, you see author with the ampersand if you have 2 authors, comma, date. And if you have more than 2 authors, you could put the author's last name, first author, that's out, and the date. And that's kind of how I want you to cite throughout. And then you're going to upload your introduction into the link that I've provided you. So you'll see in the week that you have the introduction, you'll see now here it's week 3. It could be a different week in your course. You're going to see this introduction link, and you click on it, and then it gives you the due date. So this is the due date for the rough draft and the time it's due. And you click on that link, and that brings you to the assignments page. This is what I talked about at the beginning of the course. If you click assignments, you get all these assignments. But if you just click the link, you get the assignments as well. It brings you to this page. You're going to find introduction. Here's the due date. You're going to click view/complete. And that's going to take you into turn it in. And then you're going to find your name in the drop-down list. Once you find your name in the drop-down list, you're going to select it. And your information will appear here, first name, last name, submission title. So if you're registered, you'll be in the drop-down list. And you're going to select your name, obviously. And then you're going to click choose wherever your file is located. So I would prefer you upload the file as a PDF. The reason being is because people upload files as Mac files. I don't have any Macs. I don't work on a Mac. I just can't. It's very difficult. I grew up with like DOS, and the beginning of Windows. I grew up before Windows because I'm old. So Mac is like, to me, it was always hard because I always learned command lines and things. So if you have a Mac, please save it as a PDF, because if you send me like a Mac file, like a Pages file that people would send me, I can't open that anywhere. Then I have to find a converter, and it takes me like a long time to get the file downloaded. It's just time that I really don't have these days. So please make my life easier and submit a PDF. Everything should be in PDF form. So you can click choose the computer and pick your PDF file on your computer or laptop. Or if you have it on Dropbox, or if you have a Google Drive, you can pick it from there. And then once you do that, you're going to submit it. You're just going to, attach the file, submit it, and then I will have the opportunity online to actually go in, read your introduction or read whatever section you're writing, and then I can actually comment directly online to you, I should say. And then you can read the comments online and know what I'm talking about and address the revisions and make the changes I suggest, make the revisions I suggest for your final paper. And so my strategy for this would be submit, do the rough draft, spend time on the rough draft, don't rush it. Please spend time on it. Do a good job. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me, or you can always come to my office hours. So my office hours are on the syllabus, or just reach out to me, and I can answer whatever questions. I answer my email really quickly. And then once you're done with the introduction, save it as a PDF, upload it to your computer or whatever, and then upload it here to turn it in. And just remember that turn it in also checks for plagiarism. So if you're copying and pasting, which you're not supposed to do, from articles, I'm going to find out. It's going to show up and it's going to be a disaster because I'm going to say you plagiarized. And that's not acceptable. So please do not copy and paste. You must put the information into your own words, which is paraphrasing, and then put it on your paper with the appropriate in-text citation that I just went over in the previous lecture. So please do that. Do not copy and paste anything. Please don't do that, because right away it's going to light up on my screen and I'm going to be very disappointed, And, if I'm very disappointed, you're probably going to be very disappointed. So, do an honest job, do the work, and you should be fine. I'm not like going to kill you on the revision, but I do comment a lot. So I will write a lot of comments on your rough draft. That does not mean that I don't think you did a good job. That means that I'm trying to help you learn and I want you to get better and I need to give you some constructive criticism. Like reviewers give me, I get criticism too. So it's constructive. So don't get upset if you see a lot of, crossing out or comments or whatever I write on your rough draft. That's normal. I like to comment if I find something I really want to comment about, I want to tell you about it. And I'm trying to get you to improve as a writer and to learn how to write a basic manuscript moving forward. It's going to help you at the 4-year college. It's going to help you in grad school. The more times you get this, the better you'll be prepared. So don't be too sensitive about the comments that I write. And once you actually pick your file, you can hit upload and you're done. And I get the file. And then what I suggest also you do after that is once I comment it out, I comment on your rough draft, you should go back and edit it and revise it. Do not wait to the last week of class to edit every section of your paper. Because if you do that, you're going to be in trouble. It's going to take too long. You're not going to do a good job. It's not going to be very thoughtful. So once I return the rough draft comments, go fix it. Spend time fixing it. Don't wait to the end. If you wait to the end of the semester, it's not going to be, it's not going to be a well done assignment. And I'm going to read it and I'm going to be, well, there are things you should have done better. You didn't have the time probably. So do it as the course goes along, edit, change things, and get it all prepared so that when the last week comes and you have the final exam and you have a lot of other things to do, that you have most of your revisions done already. You're not killing yourself at the last minute. And that's about it for the introduction. If you have questions, let me know. If not, good luck with this. I look forward to reading them, and thanks for taking the time to watch. And I'll see you shortly.